it is my honor to introduce Dr. Felix. Dr. Felix is the head of the Department of Botany at the Central University of Punjab, Bathinda. He completed his MSc from the University of Madras and PhD from MEXT, Japan, as a Japanese scholar. Team has discovered three new species of marine microalgae, among other discoveries, at the Central University of Punjab. Dr. Felix served as an invited in-residence intern with the President of India as an inspired teacher for 1 week at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, New Delhi in 2015. Dr. Bast is a well-known science communicator in India through his writings, outreach talks, YouTube videos, fostering critical thinking and scientific skepticism. A few of them are like the ongoing Young Science Leader series, Science Leadership Workshop, Curiosity episodes, etc. His talk has been featured in numerous media, including All India Radio, Rajya Sabha TV, and TEDx. He founded India's first young academy open to all fields of knowledge, the Young Academy of India, YAI. Dr. Bast is also involved with SWAYAM, the flagship online education program of the Ministry of Education, Government of India, as a course coordinator. Welcome, Dr. Felix. It's my honor to help you. Over to you.
Yeah, hi, Bandhan Goyal and the Biology Society. Thanks for inviting me for this talk. And this is, this is a very brief talk. And I can see that the number of participants are also very less here. Maybe that's going to increase. Is it live in the YouTube or maybe later?
Yeah, it will be recorded and then it will be uploaded later.
All right. So, well, yes. So I'm really happy and humbled to have you got your invitation to be part of this program and this 2 days workshop, as per my understanding. And today is a very special day. Today is a National Science Day. And before going to my talk, of course, I wish you all. It's already over. The day is coming to an end, but National Science Day today has been extremely busy day for all of us, the science community. And I hope most of the viewers and organizers are from biology background, I guess, right? So what is this day all about? We all know that it's a celebration of the anniversary of the discovery of the Raman effect, the light scattering. And unfortunately, he remains the only science Nobel from India till date, the soil of India, you see. And whoever has got the Nobel Prize are even though they have Indian origin, but they are not really Indian citizens later stage. And technically, even C.V. Raman is not from India. He was from British Raj, pre-independence India. So what is actually happening in India, the status of science right now? So before delving into that question, rather, I am not actually going deep into that, the various problems of the science face in this country. Let us define what is science. So not many people understand that, what exactly constitutes a science, or what makes a science so special from the pseudoscience. So for example, recently I attended one talk by, a nonagenarian scholar. Nonagenarian means past 90 years. He's like 93, 94 years. A very respected scholar, and he revealed that he had like 3 heart attacks in the past 1 decade, and he also had a heart bypass surgery, and on the top of that, he's a cancer survivor. He then declared that I'm alive today all by the grace of God. The God is great, and that time the entire the audience of approximately 200 took a standing ovation. This is what I was part of that. Then I was just thinking about that, calmly. My thoughts actually took a deeper dive. How about science? And how about a countless number of scientists like you and me? Where are our contributions here? See, if you turn back just one century, world's average life expectancy had just 40 years. Can you believe it? 1 century back, 40 years was world's average life expectancy. The fact that not many people, today realize, or even they take it for granted, like big pharma. I was just listening to the previous speaker. Of course, big pharma and even cancer. Many people think that the cancer is actually, it's a lie. Cancer is a disease invented by pharma company to sell their pharmaceutical medicines, you see. It's a big conspiracy going on. But anyway, I'm not going to that side as well. Now let me concentrate only on this aspect. 40 years. 40 years was an average life expectancy in 1 century back. And of course, the religion was not there at that time. Of course, it was there, arguably religion and even faith healing. Some of the religion practice faith healing, right? If you pray, then any kind of the disease including COVID-19 will vanish. You don't really need any medicine. Faith healing works well. So those kind of religion as well as faith healing was much more omnipresent during those days, if you turn back 1 century, or even throughout the Middle Ages of the human history, than if you compare with that of the today. Thanks to the remarkable progress that we achieved in scientific research, especially evidence-based scientific research. Especially, I want to say 2 inventions: antibiotics and vaccines, that have saved countless number of people, millions of people. And today, do you know what is the world's life expectancy? Everybody knows that it is close to 73 years. Unfortunately, India is still lesser than that. But overall, the world, the life expectancy is 73 years. And now you see that Japan, where I did, Bandhan introduced me that I did my PhD in Japan. Yes, I was a MEXT scholar nominated by the Ministry of Human Resource, erstwhile ministry, right? Now it is renamed as Ministry of Education, yes. So I was there for 5 years. And do you know the life expectancy in Japan? So it's 84 years. It's one of the rare countries with significant atheist population, by the way. 84 years, friends. A country, do you know the size of Japan? It is just approximate size and population of our Uttar Pradesh Indian state. It has achieved phenomenal success in all dimensions, and thanks to science-inspired lifestyle. In Japanese, they call it as Kaizen. And what is Kaizen, by the way? That is what exactly, that answers the question, what is science? What is Kaizen? What is science? It's all same. So Kaizen is nothing but a science-inspired lifestyle. So many academicians define, the typical academician, the philosophical armchair preachers, right? Most of the academicians are. So if you ask them what scientific methodology is, they start, dictating the technical jargon, right? Which no one understands really, like observations, then formulation of hypothesis, performing an experiment with alternative and null hypothesis to see what p-value you're getting, and rejecting or not rejecting the null hypothesis. Is this what exactly is the scientific methodology? Not really. There is a concept in philosophy called Occam's razor. How many of you know that? Occam's razor is go with simplicity. Simple definition is much more profound. Even in your academic writing, I keep on telling my students, whoever want to improve your communication skills, the writing skills, I'm sure many of you are aspiring science communicators. Some people have this inherent tendency to replace, they use thesauri and replace simple words with complex words. I say like, if the sentence itself is only 5 rupees, so why you want to put 50 rupees words in that 5 rupee sentence? Will it make better? No, it will not. One simple example would be, the Shashi Tharoor. I don't know how many of you have read his books. I've read most of his books, and the way he writes is completely, doesn't make any sense to me. He's exactly the kind of a pseudo intellectual, I can say. The sentence itself is not good. It's only that he simply replaced the simple words with much more complicated words to have the mediocrity in it, and mediocre readers think that, wow, it's a profound Victorian style English, which is not. If you really want to improve your communication skill, read The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, or any of the Hemingway's books, Robert Frost's poems. Never use, these, most of the great writers, they have got an inherent detest against the complicated words. So coming back to my point about Occam's razor, simplicity, that works most of the time. You really need not go with the complicated solutions in your life. The same principle of Occam's razor, you can think of a razor, a shaving razor. If one blade razor can give you a nice shave, why you want to go for 2-blade razor? How about 3-blade, 4-blade, 5-blade? You search in Amazon, now it's available, even 12-blade razor. I was so shocked to see that. In abroad, you can even see that 18-blade razor. It's simply fooling the consumer, the consumeristic lifestyle, isn't it? So as you know, I mean, it's everywhere. Consumerism is all about propaganda. I completely agree with that sort of thing. I mean, most of the ads are just propaganda. If you know little bit of critical thinking, you know the folly. For example, shower gel. I've covered so many of my YouTube videos. Integrating the Oxan's razor to our lifestyle. Shower gel. If you really read the backside of the shower gel, you will see that 98% is something called aqua. And what is this aqua? It's nothing but water. And you are paying such a huge markup for the water, you see. So they're just simply cheating the consumers. That is what the consumer, we should actually concentrate our education on critical thinking. That matters a lot. Unfortunately, nobody is interested to teach the critical thinking to our children, or say that, if you are a rich person, then you're buying very expensive medical insurance that also covers the cost of lung and liver transplantation, and you keep on smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, boozing every single day, saying that I have a nice the medical insurance that can cover the cost. Why you want to go for such a complicated solution? Simply quit smoking and quit drinking altogether. You see, that is a lot more profound solution. That is, in philosophy, it's called via negativa approach. Remarkable progress in our lifestyle we can get by removing the vices from our life. One example would be Ganga rejuvenation, cleanup of the Ganga, river Ganga. Why to spend thousands and thousands of crores of rupees to clean up the mess? The best option is educate those people living on the delta not to pollute the river. Spend money on the grassroots level, on the education and health. How many of you are talking about health and education? Do you know in India, we have one of the worst air qualities? I've covered this multiple times. Bandhan said about curiosity. Yes, we have a science program in my channel. Monthly science program. A few months back, a new paper has come. It says that last 1 year alone, more than 1 lakh infants we lost because of the air pollution. And how about plastics? BPA, bisphenol A is everywhere. And if you read Indian, journals, most of the science graduates don't like Indian journal. They want to get an international publication, but academicians still read it. I never miss current science. So multiple times the strong editorials appeared in current science by IISc professors and Indian Academy of Science fellows. Renowned Indian scientists have written in the current science, arguing that BPA should be banned in India, bisphenol A. And repeated governments in the center, I'm not blaming one government, but repeated governments failed to implement this decision. Is it because we are a poor country? No, there are so many other poor countries. Look, for example, Sri Lanka is, Thailand. Thailand is also a developing country. They have all banned BPA, bisphenol A, which is a estrogen analog that can cause even, PCOS and other reproductive diseases, polycystic ovary syndrome and all. And I have been to Antarctica, you see. In Antarctica, on the way to Antarctica, I saw an island full of marine litter, the plastic island. And when the plastics get degraded by photolysis, what will happen? Microplastics are being formed, and these microplastics get assimilated into penguins. How many of you heard all this story? And what is going to happen in penguins when the plastics get in? Same thing that is happening to the human being, BPA, that gets into the female penguins and causes them infertility. The penguin population is now diminishing because of the BPA. And how many of the political parties do have any of the environmental related promises in their manifestos during the election time? Because environment has never been a part of our our policy making here in India. Unfortunately, this is the case. Nature and environment in ancient times, yes, our ancestors revered it, but now no one want to do anything about this environment, because that is not right. That is not. The ideological warfare is much more common, rampant warfare. You're simply wasting. I also talk on the time management. So to manage your time, The best option is stop watching TV. Most of the time, the TV is about ideological debates, which is completely it doesn't lead anywhere. Instead, take an online course, or read a nice book or a blog. I love Reddit. Lots of today I learned TIL subreddit. I love it. So many new information you can get it instead of spending your simple time on this. I mean, precious time on this ideological warfare. Debates which are completely nonsense. So coming back to our point about this Oxam's racer and the liver transplantation. By the way, I also signed up with NATO. I'm a complete organ donor, and even organ donation, not many people are aware of it. And posthumous, I signed up that my body will also go to the forensic and medical research. We have dire scarcity of dead bodies here in India, and of course there is some stigma associated with it. If you're really so much into religion, then this is that this is not the right way. There is a soul, so because of that, do you know that if you turn back in time, even the surgery opening your body is was banned in most of the religious countries, because if you open your body, the soul gets out, the precious soul. That was the prevailing thought. Organ transplantation is really important. Organ donation, even blood donation. On every single birthday, I donate 1 unit of my blood. I'm also a plasma donor. So by the way, science is so much simpler. Not why to go for a complication. So now coming to how I define science. Science is learning from failures. Simple. A very profound idea. The science is nothing but learning from failures. So you can actually take this one into your life also. For example, you might have heard of an apothegm, an English apothegm that says, practice makes men perfect. Sexist. Why only men? Why not women? Yeah, I mean, human beings perfect if you practice. Do you agree with that apothegm? For example, I love playing chess. So, if you play a lot of chess every single day, lots and lots of chess, your chess will be much better, right? I have a nice ELO rating. How did I achieve to that 2000 something ELO rating? By practicing a lot of chess, just by playing a lot of hard work. Does it actually lead to better ELO rating? No, that is not the solution. The solution is that you should carefully analyze whenever you fail, which strategies did not work, and learn not to make the same mistakes again. Learning from failure. That exactly is Kaizen is also about. So I can also tell you another experience I had when I was walking in the streets of Connaught Place in New Delhi. I saw this advertisement, a nice book, and it says that read our book, the holy book, last 400 years, not a single revision. And those people whoever is publicizing the book, for them it is a big advantage. Last 400 years, no revision. Now think of the same case with our own textbooks in the school, science books. We will still be reading about a flat earth. Yeah, a lot of flat earthers even now. Even if you give a lot of the time zone, for example, or intercontinental flight, they will not. There is a term in psychology called cognitive dissonance. You believe something too hard, and if you say that it's not the case, then they tend to become violent. The flat earthers. Yes, so that is what if you say that 400 years no revision in science book, we will still be reading the Ptolemaic. The geocentric world, as a word that the earth is the center of the universe and all planets and stars are moving around it. Copernicus didn't even exist. So how is that possible? 8 years back, I have another experience that I had a fever. I went to a hospital, a local hospital here in Bathinda in Punjab, and the doctor prescribed a medicine. And at that time and today also, I have a bad habit. My bad habit is that I always Google the content of the whatever the medicine the doctor prescribed me to know what is the content, what is how that medicine act. I Googled it, and the first result came Gazette of India. And out of curiosity, I opened that link, a PDF link, and it says that prior to that incident happened, 8 years back, 5 years back, the notification says that that particular medicine was banned in India. The doctor was not updated. See, that is exactly revisions and updating, learning from failure. That is extremely important, friends. Einstein famously said, the day you stop learning, you start dying. Lifelong learning is the key. That is exactly the hallmark of science. Forgo ego and validation and stay a student and be humble and be, open for criticism and open for learning. That is how the science works. And you should know that the science, the learning is not same as education. Many people tend to say that, okay, education is same as learning. No, education is formalized and it is basically, institutionalized and academy driven and degree oriented. So students are going for an MSc or a PhD to get the final degree. That is not really learning, and you cannot call them as a learned citizen. With a formal degree doesn't actually say anything about did you really learn or not, So Kaizen is all about continuous learning from the failures through the feedback loops, which is actually a management strategy, and that is the reason behind all the famous Japanese workmanship. For example, automobile industry or camera industry or consumer electronics, Sony or Nikon microscope, whatever you say, they have a quality, all because that they're open for criticism and they're open for feedback loops. Even a teacher, if you ever become a teacher, be open for the criticism. Always at the end of every course that you take, even today also I do the same thing. At the end of every single course that I teach in this university, I take an anonymous survey. And I read carefully what the students are saying about my own teaching style. The feedback loops are really important. Be open for criticism. That is a hallmark of science. And what if you criticize those religious stalwarts? They the same kind of thing what Bruno faced, right? Bruno said that Earth is not the center of the universe. Sun is heliocentrism. And what did they do? Bruno was burned alive. So that is what happened everywhere. There's the same case. History repeats by itself. So treating the life as a game, that is also the science. The failures, you should not treat the failures as antonym of success, but failures is an information, like Bayesian information criterion. If you have learned something in statistics, Bayesian method or Bayesian inference, in which prior possibilities are all about treated as the information. So the failure should be taken as an information for future decision. That is exactly the scientific method. And always question, there are no authorities in science. Even a school kid can question a Nobel laureate if there is the reasoning is fallacious. Science is completely open for criticism. And in fact, through the criticism is how the science progresses. There are no beliefs in science. Many people ask me, what do I believe? Do I believe in, climate change, for example? Or vaccine? Do I believe that vaccine will work? No, beliefs have no place in science. Science is dealing with objective reality and absolute truth. Yes, so science is nothing to do with beliefs or moral system. Scientists can tell you what is the probability if you jump from 5th floor of a tall building. If you jump, probability is very high that you will die. But science will never ever tell you, do not jump. That doesn't even come under the purview of science. Jump or not to jump, it's up to you. Same way, scientists can make any kind of, for example, the nuclear weapon, nuclear power. How to use this energy is up to us. Science have no say in it. Nothing either good or bad. Only our perception matter. That is what the famous statement of Shakespeare. Postmodernism is all about that. The way that we perceive the things shapes the reality. That is what the postmodernistic philosophy is all about. So yes, Mahatma Gandhi's famous quote is also pretty relevant here. Civilization is the encouragement of differences, in which he meant difference of opinion. Encourage the difference of opinion. That is how the civilization progress. See how weighted the words are. It's extremely beautiful statement by our father of our country. So science indeed love criticisms and failures. Disconfirming evidences bring scientific progress. The so-called paradigm shift by Thomas Kuhn. So unconventional revolution of the idea. That is how to bring the science progress. How about religion? Well, I told you about Bruno. So George Bernard Shaw famously said, all great truths begin as blasphemies. Yes. Bruno's case is exactly same. Or Copernicus, well before both of them, there was an incident. Aristarchus, he was in 2nd century BCE in Rome, ancient Rome. Aristarchus also said the same thing, that Earth is not center. And he was also belittled, but not too much, because ancient Romans and ancient Greeks were much more open for criticisms. And that is why they made such a remarkable progress in those times, But now, yes, the truth doesn't change because it is or it is not believed by a majority of people. That is a quote by Bruno. Truth does not change because it is or it is not believed by a majority of people. Yes, so thinking out of box and don't going with the group think. All these are very much important for the life as well as for the science. And Einstein famously said that the value of education is training of the minds, how to think, the critical thinking. Yes, so that is exactly the scientific method. Of UP produced 28 Nobels, and its GDP is the 3rd largest in the world. And do you know that the holidays in Japan, that is also very interesting. They have lots of national holidays, just like here in India, but little bit less than in India. And almost, I think I would say there are 15 national holidays in a year. Every single of the holidays for the nature. Vernal equinox is a holiday. Autumnal equinox is a holiday. Astronomically important events. Day for oceans, day for mountains, greenery day. All these are for the nature. Not a single day for the religious observations, friends. Not a single day, including Christmas. Christmas is not a holiday in Japan. And Japan, if you look at the religion, mostly atheist, almost 80% to have no religion. And also there is not a single alternative medical practice in Japan. Homeopathy is banned there. Ayurveda doesn't happen there. Any kind of even ancient Chinese herbal remedies doesn't work in Japan. Japan have only the science integrated into the system. So what are they missing? Lots of Nobel Prize. They have a very great life expectancy. The per capita income is one of the highest in the world. The performance is outstanding in every field, virtually every field. Sports, only a few days back, I can see that the Grand Slam went to the Japanese. So the countries in general with significant atheist populations, including Japan, have got, or take up the case of Scandinavia. They are they have some of the world's lowest crime rates and highest standard of living. And yes, so all these things actually points the same direction. We really have to adhere a science-inspired lifestyle. So I told you about the life expectancy of last 1 century, how much progress that we made. It's not simple life expectancy alone. How about AIDS? Life expectancy of AIDS patients were just 59 years in 1990s. Just turn back 3 decades. In 90s, the life expectancy was just 59 years. And right now it is 77 years for those patients who are taking the modern medicine, azithromycin and other modern medicine. See, modern medicine works. Allopathy itself is a, it's basically a bad word. It was it's a criticism basically. Derogatory term invented by Samuel Hahnemann. I spent a sabbatical in Germany, 2 years back. I lived in Bremen and Berlin. In Germany, the birthplace of homeopathy, it's banned. Anyway, coming back to the same discussion here, and yes, in the US, there is another very interesting data. Per capita death rate due to the heart disease fell over 70% in the last half century alone. And all over the world, the cancer-related deaths have fallen by more than 30% over past 3 decades. All thanks to the sciences and scientific progresses. But the science, in science, the progress happens way too slowly. It is not really fast slowly. So very slowly, the science progresses to catch our everyday attention, Yet it has been remarkable. Science has revolutionized virtually all spheres of life in this space age, including our, right now we know that the fight against COVID-19. Yet, we overlook the thousands of scientists and the contributions, which is indeed an inconspicuous powerhouse, fueling almost all the comfort that we are enjoying right now, including this internet, including the electrons itself, the electronics or whatever, every single thing, the communication, every single spheres of our everyday life. Science completely changed it, but still we criticize the science by spreading the alternative narratives and fake news, belittling the scientists. So, my own mother, she is a septuagenarian, 70 plus septuagenarian. My mother, she had 9 heart surgeries, and she is living with cancer. I can call it as she is a cancer survivor. Yes. 4th stage cancer, she's under treatment, immunotherapy. Yes. I call her sometimes my own mother a bionic woman, or a cyborg mom. Why I call her so? Because she's on her 4th pacemaker. So I'm really indebted to countless number of scientists for her life, including Wilson Greatback. Who is he? The Wilson Greatback is a great American scientist who invented cardiac pacemaker. Implantable cardiac pacemaker was invented by Greatback. Friends, science has no nationalism. Science is just pursuit after pure truth. It's a humble pursuit, and learning from failures. No nationality or religion. And guess what? Science is very much part of the ancient Hindu philosophy. If you look back in time, the ancient Indians, there is a school of Hinduism that nobody wants to talk about today. Conveniently, we tend to forget it. Charvaka school. Search out it. Charvaka school of Hinduism. It's one of the great, rationalistic philosophy pursuit of Hindutva. It's completely out of fashion these days. It's centered on rational skepticism, logic, and reason. According to Charvakans, never believe in anything without any proof. Always ask for evidence and question. Keep on questioning. There are no authorities. Every single thing that the scientific method today say is there in the Charvaka school as well. Yeah. If you ask me which school of Hindu philosophy I love most, Charvaka. Yes. By all means, Charvaka can never make any mistake. And like Charvakites, science too have no evangelism, friends, to preach and its gospel, to recruit its followers, as in any of the established religion, and to forcefully convert into believers of science. Yeah, of course, it's immaterial. You believe in science or not believing in science. Truth is truth, and without the scientists, we wouldn't have rejoiced any of the luxury, and forget luxury, even safety, security, and comfort of the modern times. So, I would like to end by saying that we are what we are today by the grace of science. By the grace of science. Thank you so much, Bandhan, and all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Felix. It was an enlightening and eye-opening talk for all of us, and maybe so other people will. So, so there were, I will club two questions of rhythm and site Asia. So they were talking about that English medicines are also made from plant chemicals and derived from plants, and Ayurveda is type of natural remedy. So on these
Yeah.
questions, would you please take it?
Yeah, modern medicine is mostly plant-based. I completely agree with that point. 90% are from the plant-derived, or I can say natural-derived things. So in modern medicine. So what is the main difference between modern medicine and traditional medicine? I don't want to say Ayurveda. Ayurveda is also not really a complete pseudoscience. I will never call it as a pseudoscience, because Ayurveda is, I would say, it's a proto-science before the evidence-based science and scientific method developed. It is a practice, and this traditional medicine can be taken as a heuristics for the drug discovery, instead of blindly looking for various kinds of extracts for anti-cancer activity. For example, it's better to take whatever is integrated into folk remedy, ethnomedicine. Yes, so that is a very good heuristic method. And now coming to what actually differentiate from the science, from the folk remedy. Science is basically you need extraordinary evidences. So extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidences. That is a very famous quote by Carl Sagan. I love Carl Sagan. He's a great mentor, I would say. I read most of his works. Extraordinary evidences is required to establish extraordinary claims. For example, what should I say? In a Himalayan plant extract, for example, can cure breast cancer. So that is really an extraordinary claim. And what is the evidence? Can you say that the guy on the two blocks away, he was cured by taking that medicine? That kind of anecdotal evidences are not acceptable in the sciences. Proving and disproving, evidence-based, yes, elements of statistics matters there, and nullification of the null hypothesis, yes, and p-values, everything actually makes sense if you see how strong the evidence is. Well, I don't want to dwell more into it. Of course, there are a lot of other issues, associated issues with the p-values. For example, the p-value fabrication, you can get easily low p-value by enormous sample size. So there are multiple ways. All these are actually part of the fabrication, right, and scientific mispractices, yes. But altogether, this is all, the science works. That is my main central argument here. The science works, especially evidence-based science works. And if I say about the science and modern medicine, many people have an apprehension that you should really know how the drug works. And many of this, the folk remedies or alternative medicine, we don't know how it works, but it works. But in the case of science, in the modern medicine, we should know exactly how this drug works. Then only you can call it as a modern medicine. No, that is not the case. A science in general, we don't know really how it works, but we have got very good evidence that it works. And that is why we integrated into science. One single example would be measles vaccine. Measles vaccine is in practice for many decades, and measles is almost all gone from the world through vaccination. Yes, thanks to the vaccine, it works. It's completely evidence-based. And you ask any vaccinologist or virologist how measles vaccine works, no one knows. How about airplane? I'm sure many of you have flown in the airplane. How the planes actually can stay in the air? A mystery. We still don't have any proof. Scientists have no clue. Are you aware of it? Am I joking? Science don't know how the airplanes fly? Yes, we don't know that. We know that it flies. That's it. So that is what the science is based on evidences, hard evidences and very high quality data. But alternative medicine mostly rely on anecdotal data, and yeah, I mean, there are a lot of associated problems also with, this is the main differentiation between science and what constitutes science and what constitutes alternative medicine. And alternative medicine usually goes with a lot of logical fallacies. If you take a very basic course on critical thinking, you will understand the folly of most of the propaganda. One example I can tell you, A very simple example, if you search in Amazon or if you go to the local supermarket, chances are high that you will see a large number of water bottles which are copper. Haven't you seen that? Copper water bottles. It's a fashion these days. Argument is, yes, so it is basically the tradition. It has been used in tradition for a long time, so it must be true. Something used in tradition for a long time, it must be true. That is a fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. So that is not right. Copper, for example, yes, copper is antibacterial. There are so many papers confirming copper is antibacterial, but that doesn't mean that it's safe to drink. No, copper causes copperitis and also Alzheimer's disease. Science have proven, beyond any doubt. That is why copper is not used in most of the Western world or in Japan. They know that it's dangerous because copper gets leached into the water, and if you drink, chances that you develop the Alzheimer's disease is very high. Still, who cares about science and who cares about evidences? Our justification is that it is part of our tradition, thousands of years of tradition, so that it must be true. The same reasoning, I can also say that, chewing the pan and spitting on the road, that is also part of our tradition for thousands of years. So is it good? Sati, practice of sati was also part of our tradition. Caste system was part of our tradition. Lying, many liars exist. Does it mean that lying is good? Robbery is good? So that kind of, something being part of the tradition doesn't actually makes that it's good or bad, yeah.
So Niharika asked, so Google might mislead us, so it is right to check about everything there. So the basic question is what to believe and what not to, until and unless you yourself research on everything, which is not always possible. So I would add to this another point, so you can answer that together. So basically, scientists, so it is also a part of science communication that they properly communicate to the general public, because there are less sources and less reliable sources, and like the internet is filled with many misleading and fake news. So together, how would you answer that?
Yeah, so exactly the internet. So again, there is a, this is actually a, yes, so it's a widely held belief that if something is written in the book, it must be true. Internet is mostly wrong, unreliable book is good. But believe me, some of the books are thousands of years of fake news. Yes. And if you look any library, you can see that 95% or even more, I don't know how much, most are crap. And it's not just the books, internet also, mostly crap. So it's important to see that which one to trust and which one not to trust. So you should, I mean, it's all about learning by experience, you see. And science communicators have got a tremendous task on informing the public. Unfortunately, what I saw, the so-called science communicators, they simply twist the narrative for the political propagandization, so that is what, to win some brownie points here and there, they can completely twist the narrative. So that kind of communication actually doesn't serve any purpose. Yeah, one of the very my darling stoic mantra is memento mori. Think about death. So I have a memento mori calendar. Every single week, I mark a dot in that calendar, the weeks that I have it in my life. So everybody has got limited number of days on planet Earth. So you should define your, what exactly you want to do. You have to prioritize your life. So this kind of lies, so does it actually solve any purpose, right? So that is what the prioritization is extremely important. And which source to trust, especially coming to the medical literature, that is highly complicated. I have released one video on which internet resources can be trustworthy for medical information. You can check it out. It's a kind of a 15 minutes long video in my channel. So in summary, so some sites are really reliable. For example, Mayo Clinic in the United States. So Mayo has got a very nice website which covers almost everything, including the home remedies. So it's not just the scientific interventions. Even home remedies, of course, is part of science if it is evidence-based. So everything comes to the point is how strong is the data, and is there any substantial evidence to recommend that procedure or the treatment? So Mayo Clinic is very good, and if you are an academician, if you're a student, perhaps you can easily make out of a resource called Cochrane Reviews. So Cochrane Reviews is, I can say, it's a gold standard of evidence-based scientific research, medical research, and clinical research. But even clinicians are not aware of what this Cochrane Review is all about. So you can check out anything in Cochrane Review. For example, turmeric. Very interesting, turmeric, the story. So if you search in turmeric, antibacterial, antiviral, or anti-helminthic or anti-cancer, you will see thousands upon thousands of articles that this turmeric, this works. So, but at the same time, there are thousands of articles says turmeric doesn't work, and negative results are oftentimes are not really published. Also, you see, there is a negativity bias. So Cochrane Review did a great meta analysis of the analysis, and then finally they recommended that it doesn't work because it has got an active moiety. The turmeric has got an active moiety which works in lab, but it's not really bioavailable. Curcumin is not bioavailable. Then how it works? So in practice it works in the lab, but in the lab it works, but in practice, that is, in clinically, it doesn't work because it's not bioavailable. So they call it as a panacea. So anyway, the Cochrane Review is an amazing place to start to see it works or not. Recently I did a search. I love the bitter gourd. In fact, I'm also a pot gardener. I have a small kitchen garden, and in my garden, of course, I have bitter gourd. I love the taste of bitter gourd. Does it mean that bitter gourd is really good? Many people claim bitter gourd juice is so good, super efficient for diabetes. And no, it doesn't work at all. Search in Cochrane Review. We have evidences, strong evidences that it does not work. So because so many people say that it's true, doesn't mean that it's actually true. You see? Yeah.
So basically, it all boils down to critical thinking. So
Exactly.
for example, two questions Sakshi and Karan are asking. So one is like, if you add the word, so it's particularly referring to the copper water bottle trend. So she says that nowadays, if you tell people about old day practices, they don't take it seriously. But if you add the word trend to it, most believe it blindly. Why is that? And why do people try to copy what is going on commonly rather than using their own senses? And on similar lines, Karan is asking about the Ayurveda philosophy of renowned philosophers. So they are part of our tradition. So is it fine to distrust them too, or just for the sake of that they are not so modern? So, like, the root cause of this is like how a general person can try make out sense of it, that what to trust and what not to trust. And I think the root cause is the critical thinking, and maybe if you like, I haven't seen in particularly if in schools this particular subject is focused on, and even if like the teachers themselves are not trained in this particular field, so we can't expect that they will teach for the future generation. So yeah, please comment on this.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Bandhan. It's actually boils down to critical thinking, and I strongly support that critical thinking should be taught in schools because ultimately they are the future of the nation. And school kids should know how to discern the lies from facts. And the critical thinking is the magic amulet, I can say, to spot the fake news. If you know the various logical fallacies and cognitive biases, chances are very high that you can really spot the fake news. And even the corroboration, the statistical confounding, for example. Yes, so going back in ancient times, or the perils of modernity is a very famous cognitive bias that many people say, that actually skews their judgments and reasoning. One example, simple example I can tell you is the incidence of breast cancer is very high in developed countries, including in Japan, extremely high, rather than here in India or any of the developing countries. Incidence of breast cancer is very low. And yeah, from this small, piece of information, if you are a communicator, a science communicator, you tend to include various biases, and you tend to make it like a story to include science and fiction all together, mix up to give a very nice piece of story. Same mistake that journalists also do. Majority of journalists are not really centered on the sciences, you see. They are not really trained in sciences, but they are handling the science. So with this little knowledge in their mind, they started. Of course, this is a real data. Yeah, it happens few years ago. I would say a few decades back. So the journalists start saying that they started writing that what would be the reason why the breast cancer is very high in developed country like in Japan, while in developing country it is very low. Maybe because of the lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle, isn't it? Or junk food culture. They love eating junk food. Junk food is very interesting. Again, that is a very interesting. I'm from Kerala actually. In Kerala, we have a left government, CPM government. And few years back, the Pinarayi Vijayan is our chief minister, and he made a very interesting tax on junk foods. And according to the junk food tax in Kerala, what are junk food? Anything with an English name, pasta, pizza, spaghetti, sandwich, all those are junk food. How about masala dosa is not, vada is not junk food, laddu, jalebi, these are not junk food. Anything Western, anything foreign is a junk food. Come on, that is a false logic. It's a fallacious argument. Coming back to this narrative about the breast cancer, so the journalist starts saying that, okay, is the main reason is sedentary lifestyle or the junk food culture, But in reality, what really happened is that it's not that, the Japanese have very extremely high breast cancer. It's not the case. Detection rate is very high because mammography is completely free and compulsory for all females aged 20 and above. If you're a lady aged 20 years and above, every single year you have to undergo mammography in Japanese government hospitals. Same case in Germany or Scandinavia or in US or New Zealand. All these countries can afford free and fair and compulsory mammogram. And because of that, breast cancer is very high. While in India, the governments cannot afford it. And nobody is actually getting detected of the breast cancer. And that is the reason that the breast cancer detection rate is very low in poorer countries, you see. That is actually a confounding variable. We should actually, yes, critical thinking is extremely important to detect all the follies of the or logical reasoning. But unfortunately, yeah, we are not really following these things. So yes, so there will definitely be some conflict for those who are staunch believers of the religion, and they don't want to change this. For one example would be flat earthers. If you have a friend who is a flat earther, whatever you say to the person, he or she will completely say against your argument. They will never agree to that point. Cognitive dissonance, I told you earlier. When I was in Berlin, in a pub, I went and I was sitting with a German teenager. And this German, I had a chit chat with this German. And the teenager told me, hey, do you know the Holocaust? It's completely cooked up. Holocaust never existed. It's a Western, myth. You see, the Holocaust denialism. It's true in many of the Western countries, teenagers are lured into it. So that kind of conspiracy theories are everywhere. They completely deny the existence of the Holocaust. And I asked him, did you ever go to the Topography of Terror? One of the finest museums I've ever been to. Topography of Terror is the museum in Berlin. If you ever go to Berlin, don't miss out that museum. It's completely free, and it is by the federal government of Germany. And federal government of Germany is spending the German taxpayers' money to showcase to the world the bad things that Germans did during the Hitler's time. I should respect it. This is called the scientific thinking. If you did something wrong, show to the world, I was wrong. I will not make that mistake again. That is the only way to make progress in the life. Can you ever imagine that there is such a museum in Delhi, Sati Museum, Caste Museum, you know, sponsored by the government of India? I wrote about this one in the Hindu. Yes, last year that article appeared in the Hindu. You can check it out. Yeah.
So, so the second question Sakshi had was like, so why do people try to copy what is going on commonly among? So, like, if we also add to this that if there is a particular scientific person and the other non-scientific person, so still like the influence, the direction of influence won't go like they won't be become more aware or more scientific in terms of thinking. So, but if we see in normal generally speaking, so people usually tend to copy each other's trends. So what are your views on this?
Yeah, I mean that is true. That is generally that's the case, you know. So yeah, I mean that is called mass thinking or herd behavior or group think. All these are very prevalent everywhere in the world. People tend to do what their peers are doing, you know. So only option is that don't go with the masses, right? The lies actually spread much faster than the truth. You see, so the moment that the truth spreads only to 1 or 2 meter, the lie would have crossed the entire the planet. That is what is happening. And yes, a group thing, what is actually the solution for this group thing mentality? If Bandar is asking me my opinion, well, we really don't have anything. Only thing is that creating awareness, be becoming those people aware that there is something called group think, and thinking out of box is never a bad idea, you know. So that is what I mean. Why not? You can also prove yourself rather than simply armchair philosophical preaching. For example, sustainability. If you ask me to talk about UN sustainable developmental goal 17 UN SDGs, every single SDG I can give a complete class. What is the point of it? At the same time, you know, if I'm driving a big car to the university every single day, so the preaching empty words makes no sense to me. I show them by doing it. When I got this one, I mean, when I got a job here in this university, I'm the only professor going every single day to the university in cycle, and my students are coming by car. Why? But here in India, we have a kind of a group thing again, that cycle is only for school kids. And if you are in a +2, yeah, it's time to migrate to a two-wheeler, a scooty or something. Then once you are in once you get a job, whatever job, be a school teacher or a peon, or a bank, it's time to buy a car, a small car. And with your promotion, first promotion comes a bigger car. Why to go with that? That is exactly the folly of the group thing. So yeah, I mean, that is what the awareness is the only solution for that group thing.
Right. So just show them the truth, and maybe with time they will also adapt to that. And like,
yes, like what Gandhi did. My life is my message. Show them by doing it rather than simply empty words. You see, I'm not telling all of you that organ donation is important. No, I'm telling you by doing it. I've already signed up for NATO, Government of India. Yes, I signed up and I do that. I donate my blood every single birthday, 1 unit of blood. So what? I'm doing that and I'm showing you that if I can do, why not you? Everybody can do it. No big deal at all. Everybody can commute by cycle. Cycling is good for not just for your own body. Of course, cyclists live the longest. We have very high quality data on it, and much more than that, you're doing a good thing for your own country. If you like India, like me, of course, India is our country. In India, we import almost 90%, or even I would say 95% of the fuel from Middle East. With such a big exchequers burden on our the taxpayers, the budget, the national budget. So you're doing a service to your country if you shift to cycling. And cycling, of course, is a zero emission, and it's good for your planet Earth, the Mother Earth. Yes, and also it's very important that India is the biggest democratic country, and we should exercise our franchise wisely. Read, make it a habit. Read very carefully. The poll promises of the different political parties on the manifestos. Read about the basic necessities. If you ask me what are my priorities, my number one priority is fresh air to breathe. Number two, second priority is fresh water to drink. Pollution is a major issue. Third priority is food, pesticide free, microplastics free food to eat. So can government make a promise that the air that I breathe, at least one promise, air will be fresher? And how many people actually make this promise? It will never cut into the poll manifestos, because that is not what we are looking for. That will not actually lead to the votes, right? The vote bank politics doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, this is a case. We have to change it. We really have to change it. Yes, environment has to be our top priority. Education and health as well. I would say environment, education, health. Now, my number one priority is education. So with that one key weapon, the entire country can make remarkable progresses. Yeah.
So Mahima asks, how can we inculcate appreciation for science in younger students?
Appreciation, yes. So see, basically it's a curiosity. You see, the curiosity or the childlike curiosity is completely missing when they become adult. You see, so the kid will ask you a question like how the lizards can walk on the ceiling. Yes, so that is actually the scientific curiosity driven scientific question. You see, it's all about van der Waals forces, and that actually leads to so many different kinds of applications like microfiber clothes, and endless applications, right? If you ask that simple question, how lizards can walk on the ceiling. So that kind of curiosity driven questions has to be fostered. So yeah, there's the multiple proven. It's a big parenting related the session, but my advice would be make it a habit. Do it. If you're a parent, if you want to inculcate the kids to start reading, the best option is that read in front of them. You yourself should read. If you watch the TV and ask your kids, read it. No, kids will never read it. The parents should completely spending a lot of your time on reading. And the kids will grow up looking their papa and mama reading all the time. Then naturally that instinct will come to them. So that is what, show them by doing it, and never give reading as a punishment. If you ever give to your kids, read it as a punishment, they start hating the reading, you see. So that is my another tip. If you have a young kids growing in your home, to inculcate the reading habit. Yes. So for science, so you can introduce them to so many classic scientific books. Depends on the age. Even for the kids, preschool kids, there are so many good the animated scientific concepts can be taught to the kids. Yeah. Unfortunately, when these same kids in my experience, usually I go to various places with science communicating, the science popularizing lectures, you see. Not just in schools, but I also go even to temples. In Kerala, some temple authorities calls me. I have a very interesting experience in a temple in Mahe. Mahe near Telicheri. It's a small place, and they called me, a temple authority called me to give a talk. They are on, I don't know why they want to hear. So there is I love that spirit, you see, and I never say no to this kind of invitations. So it's another chance to share the knowledge, right? So in that, I still remember I was talking them about my experience in Antarctica, how frozen continent is, and then one small kid, a girl, she's just I would say just 5 years old. She stood up and she says, fish, how fish can live in Antarctica? How can it swim in Antarctic Ocean? It's super cold. Yes, it's a fantastic question. And then I really had no answer during that time, because you know that in Antarctica, the ocean temperature, it's water. See, ocean is water. Of course, the top layer gets frozen, but still the water part of the ocean, If you take the temperature, it could be minus 2.7 degree, minus temperature, and still it's not solid. How come? Because salinity. Salinity brings down the freezing point. It's a simple chemistry principle. And in this minus sub-zero temperature, how the fish can live in Antarctica? I really had no answer. So it was only recently that a paper published in PNAS by a team in the US, it's a PhD work actually, that actually detected a antifreeze protein in the blood of the fish. See, that's amazing question. So such questions we really need to foster the kids and question every single thing. Then only this that is what the childlike curiosity. I love that kind of curiosity. You see, yeah.
So we are over time, but there are a bit like a few questions. So if it will be fine for you, shall we take it?
Yeah, why not?
Sai Teja asks, sir, do you think it's good to use biotech foods like vitamin-rich rice and biotech crop foods? Have you ever eaten golden rice when you went to foreign countries?
Yeah, so this is a question about the genetic engineering. If you ask what is my belief in all those things, I reiterate, there is no belief in science. Do I believe in, or I don't believe it, like nuclear, nuclear energy? What is my take on it, or GMOs? Yeah, but if you ask me what science say about the GMOs, science is conclusive. The evidence is, there is a scientific consensus in this. GMOs and non-GMO. I don't want to say organic. Again, organic is a marketing propaganda. The term organic makes no sense really. So GMOs and normal food doesn't have any difference. You see, you can say that there is only difference is the pesticide residues are so much lesser in GMOs than the normal food. You see, because you need to put a lot of pesticide and chemical to ward off the pesticides in the normal food. So eating GMOs doesn't cause any disease. That is, the science knows it very clearly, and still the propagandists keep on saying that no, it's an ecological disaster. No, it doesn't. But there is a catch on this GMOs, especially with big corporations like Monsanto. That GMOs are also infertile. You see, it's only the F1 generation become infertile. Only one. It will actually force the customers to buy the seed back to the corporation again and again at a very high markup rate. All these are marketing ploy. I'm not justifying it. No, I'm not saying about these are a good practice. So which is good or bad? I mean, it's up to you to take it. You see, coming to the science, the science publication, you might know there is a very big landmark complaint against the Sci-Hub. I'm sure many of you know about it. Sci-Hub is something like all this, costly journals. They make entire PDF free, accessible to everybody. You don't have to pay anything, which is completely illegal. So many people, even established scientists, IAC professors, say that, oh, what Sci-Hub is doing is very good for the poor people. It is egalitarian society. The socialist thinkers will say that Sci-Hub should not be banned. Poor people also have got talent. But if you ask me my opinion, yeah, I can say that. My opinion is that what Sci-Hub doing is completely unethical. That is not right at all. So there is no free lunch. That is an economic principle. No free lunch for, let us say, cancer medicine. Yeah, cancer medicines are really expensive. I know that. My mom, she have this lymphoma and this, the immunotherapy imported medicine from the Germany, extremely expensive. And well, it saves life. Yeah, of course. So does it mean it's a life-saving medicine? The companies are they are actually making profit out of it. It's an unethical practice. No, think about it. The companies have invested huge amount on making that medicine. They also have workplace. They also somebody have to do the research. You see, it's not that I mean, if you said, okay, make this 1 lakh rupee per tablet medicine 1 rupee. If they make it, they will also have to close down their R&D output. and no more medicine they can able to afford to produce it. You see, so it's a highly complicated, the patenting, which is it ethical to patent the life-saving drug or not? So that yeah, of course there is the concept in economics that there is no free lunch. Somebody have to pay the price. That is true. So if you say that I want my articles to be published open access, and also there should not be any article processing free, article processing fee, is it is it actually economically viable solution? Why should the some publishing house do all this work? No, it is not viable. The business model doesn't work that way. So yeah, that is why Sci-Hub, what they're doing, or even the torrent, peer-to-peer torrent, you can get lots of music files or videos and watch it. Is it right? Is it legal? It's not legal. And now, is it ethical? I don't think it's ethical. I will never do that. Why should I? I mean, I can pay a little bit money, 10 rupees, to buy that music. I can purchase through Amazon or Google, whatever, and then listen it. Why to actually go with this kind of illegal site? Artists are also human beings. Artists also need some money. You see, artists are one of the least paid job profession. But of course, the big Hollywood and Bollywood star, there is another side of the story. But still, yes, there is no free lunch. Somebody has to pay the price.
Right. So we have just last two questions. One is from Madras. How can we reduce the miscommunication gap between scientists and public? This is a real testing problem of today, even if you present evidence with overload.
Yeah, that is what, the cognitive dissonance is really true, that it's hard to convince, even for a flat earther, or intelligent design. My favorite analogy is just go to a country with one book in your suitcase. The country can even arrest you. They can put you in jail. Which country and which book? Turkey. If you ever land in Istanbul with a copy of Charles Darwin's Origin of Species, that can land you in jail. One book, they banned it. So if you start saying, the evolution class, that is how I start with the freshers. Then they will start asking me, how come? What is in that book? Why that country, Turkey, banned that book? See, that is spiking their curiosity. I think that is a very good approach on, to convert the non-believers into the believers. So exactly show them the proof. That is what. And it's not easy. And it's most probably it is impossible, I can say, that hardcore believers, whatever evidence you put, they will never, ever believe. So that is what in the Trump supporters in the US, that what really happened in there and what actually led it. All the consequences of all those extreme nationalistic, and flat earther, for example, one simple example, flat earther. Whatever the proof that you tell the flat earther, the earth is not flat. So what? When there are a Facebook group with millions of followers, and also the cult groups, religious and political cult group member, whatever they say, the people simply believe it. They take it at its face value. And also religious books. Yeah, if you are a practicing extreme religious person, then that is going to be a problem too. So the Watson and Crick, the discoverer of the double helix, you see, there is an ideological difference between these two, right? The Watson is now banned in most of the learned society because he said something that irked, it's basically a racist thing that he said a few years back. He said that white people inherently, if you look at the DNA molecule, white people have got a better DNA and they have better IQ that is reflected in their DNA, while Asians or Indian, for example, Indians don't have very good DNA molecule. We don't have that good IQ. See, so that is a racist mentality, isn't it? While the Crick said that if you believe in only one idea, that is really dangerous. So the dangerous man has only one idea because he will fight and die for it. That is a quote by there is a quote by Crick. Dangerous man has only one idea because he will fight and die for it. See, exactly that is what the religious fundamentalists all around the world are doing. They have only one idea and they will never change that idea, even in the light of the fresh evidences. Yeah. Yes, thanks, Bandhan, and all of you. It was my pleasure and privilege to be part of this society, and I hope, I hope you got some new ideas from this interaction.
Yes, it was very insightful and many new perspectives. I hope, like to me personally, it was really a few points were really eye-opening, and I hope many participants and those who will be watching on YouTube in future, they will like be like maybe it will be kind of a step forward for them to have more scientific thinking, more critical thinking, and they can then like also maybe motivate their surrounding people for the same. Thank you very much.
But then I just want to add that, yes, critical thinking is extremely important. Scientific thinking and critical thinking, rationalistic thinking is extremely important. That is the key idea of the today's talk. And it's not just for the science, but also for your own life. Learning from failure is extremely important. And whatever that I shared today, it's my worldview. And I will never say that my worldview is the best worldview of the world. No, you take it or not take it. It's up to you. And you're welcome to criticize me. I'm open to criticism. Otherwise, how can we make progress in our life, right? Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Felix. And I think this session would be, I would like to end with a quote by Valery Legasov, a Soviet chemist, which will very nicely summarize the talk. To be a scientist is to be naive. We are so focused on a search for truth, we fail to consider how few actually want us to find it, but it is always there whether we see it or not, whether we choose to or not. The truth doesn't care about what our needs are or what our wants are. It doesn't care about our governments, our ideologies, our religions. It will lie in wait for all the time. Where I once would fear the cost of truth, now I only ask what is the cost of life. Yeah. With this,
wow, that's a great quote. Yes. So yes, absolute truth is the only premise for the science.